Well, hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and everything else, depending on where you are. Already, we've got some people saying hello. Let's see. Knut, one of our frequent flyers, has yet again got in there first before anybody else and said, "Greetings from Norway." I love the fact that Knut is in Norway. I think that's really excellent. It's a country I'm very fond of. I've not been to yet. But I'd definitely go there. As an English person, I feel some kind of affinity with the Nordic countries. People always lump the United Kingdom with Europe, and actually, there's not a lot of crossover between somewhere like Greece and Spain and Portugal and the UK. It's actually more like a German or Danish or Nordic kind of vibe. So yeah, it's good. Rudy says hello from Slovenia. Hello, Slovenia. Hello to you. Gary's from Georgia, and it says face blue smiling. And I said, baby, I'm doing my own emoticons today. And James says hello. Doesn't say where he's from, but I'm going to guess somewhere cool. And David Avenue is, I remember David before, and he says hello. Pavel, dzień dobry from Poland. Fantastic. Lots of echo. There shouldn't be echo from me. So if you're getting echo, I can assure you it's nothing to do with me. At least it shouldn't be. Maybe you've got another YouTube window open or something like that. But I promise you it's not for me. Gaza from Leeds. Martha said, producer Martha is in the background today. She's not always been here recently. She's been super busy. Traveling around the world quite a lot as well. She says there's no echo, so I'm afraid B3 site guy or B site guy, the echo is possibly something you're doing. Sorry about that. And Terry says hello. It's still wet in San Carlos, California. Yes, I heard about the flooding and the crazy atmospheric river that was going on there. I hope you're okay. I hope everybody's safe in whatever country you're from. Mohammed says, hello, Delphi guys. Actually, it's Delphi girls as well. But yeah, hello, Delphi people. Yes, I think that's right. Mohammed says, Syria. Hello. I didn't know we had anybody in Syria, but that's excellent. Rennie is in Switzerland. And Thorsten is in Germany. Okay, I'm going to call it a day on those hellos for now. Now, oh, fantastic Polish AS, yes. Okay, indeed. Yes, so listen, today's webinar is complicated and there is a high risk that something will go wrong. I've been working on it. I started doing some work on this project yesterday and I tried to do a lot and so I need to explain what we're going to achieve. So today's webinar, I've got an overlay that I can put up in a moment. Let me see. I set all my lovely overlays up and then I forgot which one's which. I don't think it's this one. No, that's not it. And it's definitely not this one. Okay. No, it's not that as well. Okay, we'll come back to those in a moment. I did have an overlay, but you'll see in the slides anyway what's coming up. Today we are trying to do a, we're not going to make a social media app because that's too ambitious for a webinar. But what we are going to do is do the user interface and talk about the code that makes some of the things happen and discuss the other social media apps that are out there and talk about potentially how they do things. We're going to follow this up with a webinar probably on a Friday. And I'm probably going to do it with Richard Hatherall using AWS, so Amazon AWS components. Appercept, which is Richard's company, have got some really excellent components that allow you to do all sorts of exciting things with Amazon. Now, most social media apps out there, if you think about it, they're connecting billions of people. So for me to say in this webinar that I'm going to recreate a social app is a bit ambitious, but actually to a certain degree, I'm probably going to show you 75% of the user interface working and show the code working on an Android phone. I've actually got it on an iPhone as well, which I tested. It. You can't see it, but it's to my right over here. I have a Mac, and I've also got it on Mac, and I think it will also work on Windows as well, because I used FireMonkey for it. But what I wanted to do was recreate the user interface of Instagram. Now, I want to make it absolutely clear. First of all, we absolutely recognize that Instagram is Meta's trademark. We're not trying to infringe on that. We are trying to educate people on user interface design. So, before people go, oh my gosh, we're going to be sued to death by Meta. Fair use here is really about using their app to explain some techniques, okay? Because they do a very good job of it, as I talk about in my slides. But we are going to do quite a lot of it. A load of people saying hello. Saludos desde Nogales, Mexico. Abraham is in Nogales. Well, I know where Nogales is, and it's not. I live in Texas, so there is Nogales in Texas as well. I believe it's on the border. Hello from the Ivory Coast. Social media with Rad Studio. Yes, it is completely possible. And in fact, we're going to show you the user interface part today. And then we'll talk about the infrastructure and actually how we make things work another time. And see, my grandfather was Welsh. So there is no way I can say this word, but it's Clanfair Pilgil Gogeri Quindrob Will Llantysilio in Wales. It's the longest place name in the United Kingdom, and it's like the small house on the mountain by the village down by the stream or something like that in Welsh. But this is actually a place name. So Llanfair is the abbreviated version of it. So nice try. I can't say it properly because clearly I have a British accent. Technically, I'm an American, but obviously, clearly, I was born in England. I was born in London. Hello, Ian from France. Salut, Einstein. Je parle en français, s'il vous plaît. Si tu veux, or si toi veux, I forget it. See, I've completely, my brain is mashed up, but salut, Einstein. In Nantes, he's always here. Right, so look, let's start by merci. De rien. Let's start by going to our slideshow, which means temporarily I'm going to look off the screen and look a bit weird. And also I'm going to put my microphone a little bit closer so that people can hear me. Right, let me just go to the wonderful studio software. And I'm going to share. I'm so used to Delphi Rad Studio that I want to use it to do everything, and we listen to you. Good. You know what? Today's webinar is to try and prove the point that you can do anything. I do not claim. I want to make this absolutely clear because sometimes people see my face a lot. I'm obviously fairly well known. I do a lot of webinars. I do a lot of in-person events. And with that comes the expectation that you're some kind of like living legend. People that know me know that is not true. But they believe that because you're demonstrating the product, then you clearly, some kind of like, Bill Gates figure or something like that. I'm absolutely not. I have been a developer for 40 years. So I've done lots of different coding in COBOL and things like that. But I love Delphi and I've used Delphi since day one and Rad Studio since it came out as well. I've done some C and C++ and all sorts of other languages. But Delphi is my favorite tool by far. And now I work for the company that make it, which is absolutely perfect, isn't it? So the point I was going to try and make was I've never tried to claim that I'm some kind of rocket scientist programmer. There are MVPs out there who are incredible. Stefan Glenke, if you know who he is, he's an absolutely amazing developer. Remy Lebeau is another one. I could go on. I could list 100 people who are exceptional programmers in one way or another. Someone would say, oh, I'm not very good at user interface. Oh, I'm not very good at this. But I know these people to be real experts. Most of our MVPs are chosen for their programming skills. I'm just lucky. I'm competent. I'm not incompetent. I can program, but my skills are not like those guys, and that's important for you to understand. So when I'm doing stuff, I want you to understand, yes, I have got some experience behind what I'm doing, but you can do what I'm doing. It's not because I'm some elite expert, as many of you will know by now while you're watching the webinars. But you can do anything with Rad Studio. There's not a system out there that is currently on sale or available that you cannot do with Rad Studio, and especially with Delphi. I promise you that's true. If you go on our blog at the moment, there's a blog about the Miniature Wonderland in Hamburg. They've got some remarkable things going on there. They run a little Formula One track where they're 0.003 millimeters of tolerance. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's like smaller than a hair. I don't have a lot of hair, but smaller than a hair. And they're dealing with things that are happening in micro fractions of a second. And they do it all with Delphi. They run their ticketing. They run absolutely everything. Disney ticketing, Disney World, and a few others use the product. We are going to do some more case studies on big projects. Marcus Hum, one of our MVPs, keeps nagging me daily about a really big project he wants to talk about. We've got lots of case studies, but there is nothing you cannot do with Rad Studio. I tell you that now. So I'm going to kind of prove that to a certain degree by sharing my screen and doing a presentation. And I'm going to do more demo today than presentation. Okay, so let's start by sharing my screen. I'm going to turn my camera off because it gets a bit confusing when I'm on both. Right, so here we go. Right, so, well, Winter Webinars 2024, that's what you're watching. If you want to ask questions, you can do. Because of the way the screens are laid out, I can't see them, okay? But I will come back to them later. What are we discussing today? Come on, computer, you can do it. We are saying here that you too can create an award-winning social media app, and we show you how. I am literally going to show you a demo of the main user interface of Instagram. And I want to make it absolutely clear, we're not trying to rip them off or copy them. And in fact, there's some significant differences. But I want to show you what you can get to, and then we'll talk about the infrastructure later and how you do the back end of it. So things like the web pages, because you can view Instagram on a web page, the transport mechanism for storing the data. We're not going to talk about that today, but we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to come back to this app and make this app work as a real social media app, and a scalable one as well. You should know by now who I am, but if you don't, my name is Ian Barker, and I'm the Embarcadero Developer Advocate. You can email me, please do, I will respond, at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. You can read about me and find out who I am and what I do by going to about.me/Ian Barker in your web browser. Today's slides and the replay of this video will be available on tinyurl.com/IBSocial24. So my initials, Ian Barker, social, because it's social media, 24. Let's talk about social media for a moment. Look, I really admire Meta. The Social Network, if you've seen it, is a kind of made-up movie about Mark Zuckerberg's early days. And it's partially true, partially fake, according to Mark Zuckerberg. And I think that's probably true. That tends to be how these documentary type recreations of an event are. They have a little bit of truth and a little bit of fiction for the sake of a good story. But regardless of that, whether you like Facebook or whether you hate it, they're very good. They do a really good job of their apps. And because this is a social media app, you'll see some of the bits of my screen are blurred out. And that's going to happen throughout any screenshots that I've taken, because most of these people, there's nothing salacious. It's not like someone's nude or anything like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's just that these people, if they've put their their account up there. Some of them are private accounts, and they don't want people to know that they exist. Only friends. And so I'm not going to show anybody who I don't know is either a Delphi MVP or a person who's going to be okay with me showing their details. As you can see here, that's the Instagram screen there. Meta have also got Facebook, as I'm sure you're aware. That's their original company name, in fact. Telegram, Threads, which is their run at trying to replace Twitter and X as it's become. It's doing pretty well, but mainly through force of will than anything else. And Instagram. And they're used by billions of people. I think they are now probably approaching 2 billion people using it, if not exceeded that already. It's an astounding amount of people, real whole bunch of people using it. Why do they use it? Well, it's not because their apps are rubbish. I can tell you that now. If their apps didn't work, if they weren't reliable, then nobody would bother using the apps, would they? They just wouldn't. And so, they're used because they're easy to use. They fulfill a need for some people. Personally, I don't like Facebook. When it first came out, it used to be a lot of fun. But nowadays, it's just, it's not something I want to involve myself with. But plenty of people love it. Telegram is very useful. It was written by someone else, and then Facebook bought it out. Very useful. I actually paid for the pro version of Telegram, and therefore I can join in for things like the Brazilian Delphi user groups and C++ builder user groups. And they type in Brazilian Portuguese, and it translates it for me. I can see their posts, and I can see them immediately. Facebook does that on actual posts as well. And so does Thread to a lesser degree, and so does Instagram. But Telegram, it does it, when I go to view a thread in the user group, which is really, really useful. We're not going to do any of that for obvious reasons, but we could do, and we're going to talk about that, and Richard Hatherall comes in next time. The user interfaces of these apps are really easy to use. I literally could give it to my father. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but he was in his 70s, and he was able to use it without any problem whatsoever. It makes sharing and talking to other people around the world really straightforward, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because now all of a sudden we know there's some crazy people out there, and they want to tell us how crazy they are and all their crazy ideas. But it also means that, for example, someone like myself, who's an expat, and I live in another country from where I was born. I live in the United States, in Dallas. I can keep in touch with my sister who lives in the UK. And so I can see pictures of her backyard, and she does a lot of gardening and sort of fantastic flower beds and things like that. But also she can message me and tell me things about my mother and stuff like that. I think by looking at these apps, we can learn a lot about user interface and user experience design by taking a look at how they work. I'm not going to say that this is the user interface metaphor for everybody, but it is a good start. And, you would look at these and think, well, how would I go about doing these in Rad Studio? Well, surprisingly, it's actually pretty easy. Most of the work's already done for you, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it to copy some of that. Like I say, right now, we're only looking at the user interface and making that work to a certain degree. Next time, we're going to do the infrastructure where we post images up to a web service in a secure way, and then get a feedback of other people's images as well. So we're actually going to create our own social network for real using this app. What are the key parts? Well, obviously, the first thing you find when you open the app is you can see the main screen. Now, this is from my Android phone. I also have it on the iPhone as well. Not a lot of different. And in fact, Instagram are one of the companies that do not change their app for the different platform. The app looks the same on both platforms. That's deliberate by them. And the idea is, I think, for muscle memory and stuff like that, if you've used it on an Android phone, then you can go on, use it in iOS, and it works exactly the same. We could make it different for iOS and Android, or we could make it the same, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Key parts of that screen, well, there is a notifications area, so you can know who liked all your cat pictures or your food pictures, because that's what a lot of people seem to post on Instagram, or pictures of somebody, lying flat out unconscious and having eyebrows drawn on them with a Sharpie, excuse me, and so on and so forth. the way that they work to encourage social interaction and to grow what's called the social graph. They also have an embedded follow button. We're not doing that right now. We're going to do that when we do the infrastructure part of the code. There's also a messages section where you can tell people about your cat pictures and say, hey, Jim, because you can see Jim McKeith in that little image there. Yes, he is my friend. And yes, he's my Instagram friend as well. I can message him and say, hey, Jim, have you got any cool cat pictures? And Jim will go, no, but here's a picture of a lightsaber, because that's the kind of guy that Jim is. He's more nerdy than me, but not that different to me. I think we're both sort of animals of the same species, put it that way. And the other people you see in there are actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, Delphi MVP. So Vinicius Sanchez and Cesar Cardoso are Delphi people. And if you follow them, you'll find out a lot more. Code for Delphi is Cesar, and he does some really interesting stuff, great things. Other key parts, well, you can add to your story. And by that, you can add a photo or a video to your feed or send it directly to one of your your friends, and say, hey, look, here's a picture of my cat, and my cat, it looks like he's wearing a baseball cap or something like that, or look at his moustache. And there used to be cats that looked like pictures of Hitler. It was a very popular early thing as well. And of course, in the background, apart from all of that, there are the unseen parts, which is the infrastructure. Now, today, I'm not going to do the infrastructure part of it because it takes more to explain, and I actually have to do quite a lot of work to get that to the point where it's working, and I need to record it. The reason I need to record it is it's going to have some Amazon keys in it, private keys, and I don't want to accidentally broadcast those to the world and then have someone run up a $1,000 bill for me on Amazon. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to set that up. Richard Haller and I are going to cooperate on a few things, and this is one of them. We're also going to do a recreation of an app called Not a Hot Dog, which if you like Silicon Valley, you'll see that as well. And we're also going to do an app called Bro, which is a messaging app. But basically the principles of what we're doing about the user interface design today are going to follow through. So no infrastructure today, but there will be. Can we recreate that app in Delphi? Well, look at my little slide there. This is the working app. And I've done it like this because I actually have a problem showing you some parts of it live because of the way we're streaming. Okay, but as you can see, these are American pancakes, which my wife is very good at making, by the way. And I'm selecting them from there and all the rest of it. You'll see that when the thing loops around again, that is called Instantgram, which is my little copy of Instagram. And you'll also see down in the bottom right where the cursor is now, I've got a moving icon, which we'll talk about in a minute. But there's our little splash screen, and there's our icon, and there's our running app. So can we do it? Yes, we definitely can recreate that. That's my desk with a Dr. Pepper Zero on it. Okay, so some of the tools I used. Okay. Like I say, don't forget the slides will be available, so you'll be able to go and check these as well. I used Microsoft Edge Copilot AI to create an icon. Okay, and the icon, look at it, it's so cool. I'm not sure that you can get away with that thumb because I think that thumb is probably not publicly available because I think that's a Facebook/Meta trademark. But anyway, we're doing this for educational purposes. In a real app, you need to make sure that whatever icon you create is redistributable. You don't want to get sued by someone for accidental infringement of copyright. And how did I do that? Well, when I open Microsoft Edge, there's a button up the top that looks like that kind of blue and red flag. You click on that, and that opens a little thing that's the Microsoft Copilot AI. And in there, you can ask questions of it. And I literally said to it, the one that says number 2, create an icon for a social media app. And it did. It said, okay, I'll create you an icon. Once I've done that, I can click on the download button and I can download my icon. I'm going to show you how I then put it in the app because obviously it doesn't look quite like that in the app, but it's not far off it. You'll see in a moment. The other thing I do is I use some SVGs. If you remember, the real Instagram app has got some very specific types of graphic. Now, in your own apps, you would use something that doesn't look like their app. The reason I'm making my app look like Instagram is not to rip them off, but to make it clear that we can do the same thing in Rad Studio and with Delphi. So anything anybody else can do, we can do. But don't make any mistakes. You're going to have your own graphics. You can't just go and copy Instagram and sell your app or give it away even, actually, because you'll infringe their copyright. But this is where I got the images for, in order to make my app look kind of cool and deadly and a bit like Instagram. The other thing I did was I went to a place called fontspace.com, and I got a font that I actually said to it, give me a font that looks like Instagram. And that's exactly what they did. Now, obviously, I don't want to call it Instagram, even though it's a learning app. And, that's the only purpose, is to teach people how to create apps. But I thought it would be funny if I called it Instantgram instead of Instagram. So I did that. I got a font that was suggested by FontSpace, and I typed in the word Instantgram, and it gave me a preview. And I took the preview, and that is how I created the logo. And there's logo down on the left. Looks very much like the real thing. The other thing I used, of course, is Skier. Now, if you don't know about Skier, you need to go and have a look at some of the videos about it and read some of the presentations, because Skier is like adding rocket fuel to your apps. As soon as you enable Skier, you get all sorts of extra capabilities, and it speeds a few things up and adds a few nice, cool capabilities to your app. Good stuff, definitely need it. And finally, I thought, well, I'll add something to the app as well that Instagram, the real app, doesn't have, and that is a profile picture that moves. So you'll see when I demo the app in a moment that I've got that profile picture moving around and looking a bit bored because he's waiting for you to do something. But that was very easy to do, very easy to add in the app. And I'm going to show you how I did that in a moment. Okay. And so I think I'll check where we are with questions, and then I'm going to show you the actual demo part of it. So let's just go back to here and say, oh, wow, a live video from Ian, says Bill. Yes, indeed it is. It is a live video from me, and that's good. And also, hello, Master from Uruguay. I'm not the master. I'm just one of the underlings that talks a lot. So, but thank you. Yes, thank you, Milka. And as Avila says, yes, it's also but also expensive. Yes, I understand. I get it. There are options for people who don't make a lot of money. If you want to go to download Rad Studio, if you go to here, the QR code that's there, and scan it, it will take you to the Rad Studio thing. There's a trial version there, and also you can get the community edition, which will do all of the things I'm showing you today, all of them. If you qualify for the community edition, you do not have to pay. And I say qualify, read the license first. Don't try and use it in an environment where you're earning a living, like a substantial amount of money, because that is not what the license is intended for. But if you do qualify and you're in a low income area, or you're learning, or you're a hobbyist or something like that, then the community edition can do all the things I'm showing you in a moment. And there are some restrictions, but not many. Okay, so let's turn that off and let us go back to the demo. Right, so I'm going to actually close that for now. And you can see my Rad Studio. So here is the app that I've created. And it is kind of like a copy of the Instagram app. I'm just going to put the QR code up again because I can see people are scanning it. We go there. I'll actually put up also the things for the SVG repo and the FontSpace repo as well later. So don't worry, you will be able to see everything there. One thing I'm going to do first is I'm just going to lock my controls because I'm turning at a weird angle to show you this. If I turn my camera on, which I have to do to go here, you'll see me turning like this, which I think looks in the opposite direction to where it is. I should really put the screen over here. It's actually be easier for me to see, but I'm over there. But I'm going to turn my camera off again because it's distracting. Right, so this is the user interface. Okay, now what did I do? I think I can move this. Can I move this? No, it won't let me move it. I think, in fact, I've just dragged something I didn't want to move. Yeah. Okay, I can't move the QR code. I'm gonna have to hide it for a second. Okay. So how did I get to this point? Well, first of all, the first thing I did was I selected. Oh, I know what I was doing. Just 1 second. I just realized why I wasn't moving. Here we go. No, it still won't let me do it. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to hide it for now. Right, so how did I get to this point? Well, I said new, and I said multi-device application, and I actually chose header footer with navigation. I'm not going to do it right now, but it's a header footer with navigation template. Okay, now one thing about this template is it's got some extra stuff that you don't want. The first thing that you need to do is actually go into here, into the tab control. I've renamed them actually, which is probably not very helpful when I think about it, but I've renamed them because I want to understand which tab is which, and rather unhelpfully in the template they're called tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, tab 4, which is not really going to help you very much. Okay. Oh no, I've always made back the purchase price. Doug says he's always made back the purchase price of Rad Studio. Good. Well, yeah, I'm glad. I accept it's not cheap. It's cost effective if you're a professional developer and you're making money at it. It's one of those things you need to budget. Same as electricity and car tax and all the other bits that you need. It's not ideal. If it was free, I'd do a lot more, I'm sure. But anyway, so I renamed the tabs. This active tab here, what this does is this is the main tab control. So there's a tab control in this window here. And in that tab control, that contains all the other tabs for the components that run. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just show you the app running first. And then we will go to explain how it works. So here's my my Android phone, which I'm always taking a risk at doing this because you never know, someone might message me about something or send me something. But here's the app, and here's the app running. So if I haven't put lots of things in here, but there's the messages tab, there's the notifications tab, okay, and there's a little thing here. As you can see, hopefully, depending on the resolution, there's my profile picture moving around. Yeah, doing the real thing. There's my lovely little logo that I created on the font site that I showed you earlier on. And here I can actually say new. Now, in the full app, in the actual final app, this is all going to be filled with previous information that's been sent out, so previous posts. I think actually if I click on gallery, then I think the real, final thing will show all the images. Now I can't select it because I'm streaming using the camera system that's interfering. But if I was to click on here, what would come up would be the camera selection. I did show that earlier on. It looks fine with the rotating in. Yes, thank you. And the gallery is the same thing. So I've got a little bit of a problem here. It was working earlier on. I broke it as soon as I started using the streaming software. So I think the streaming software is interfering. But that's what it does. Now, let's come out there for a second and go back. So a couple of things. First of all, we've got this really cool logo here. which we called Instant Social. Now you'll remember that if I go over to my machine here, let me just see for a second. Yeah, you'll remember here, pull it over. You remember that this is the image, okay? And all I did was ask Copilot AI to do that. Well, to actually create that icon, I actually used the power of Rad Studio 12 to do this. So I go into the project options and I selected artwork generator, okay? And in fact, you probably want to do this on the right version of the Android here. But go into artwork generator, it'll give me a warning and say, hey, if you change this for Android, you know this is going to be a problem for everything else. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, carry on. Okay. I can go in and say, I want an image. Okay. I'm going to select an image and hopefully it's going to go to the right place, which it is. So I'm going to select that image, which is the one that was created by the AI. And then I can say, oh, well, that doesn't look too good. So I'm just going to make that a bit bigger. Scale it like that. Now, don't worry about all the background layer and all the rest of it. It's going to say about this, not really bothered about that. This is to do with adaptive icons, and you need to use an SVG. This is the splash screen. So what we're going to do is just make that splash screen a bit bigger. And it's going to say, oh, do you want a dark mode one? If I wanted to do a different color, then I can do. Click on finish. Okay. And it fills all of these launcher icons in here, which is really, really, really useful. Trust me, it's the worst possible thing is having to create all the graphics by hand. And it does this for you automatically. This was actually a little insider secret here for you. I don't think I'm really revealing too much, but this was actually created by the guys that do the Skier Fidelity stuff. They helped us out make this work because it was one of the things that proved the point of Skier Fidelity. But we'll come back to this in a moment. Right. So that's one thing. The other thing that you need to do, and we can show you that you can get to these options here as well, the project options. The other thing that you need to do is there are some entitlements that you need to make sure are working. We don't need any of these actually because we're not doing anything bizarre, like biometric authentication is one of them. But for Android, you will get services, no permissions. This is on. Now, my screen resolution is a bit weird because I'm trying to broadcast you at a resolution that will work on, the 4 different YouTube channels we go to, Facebook and Instagram Live, ironically Meta Live and Twitter. But here are all those different permissions. You have to have the camera permission turned on for this app. Now, as I said, I can't demonstrate to you, but I'm going to show you it working in a moment with a movie capture that I did. But if you don't have that set up, then it's not going to do anything anyway. It will not work. Now, aspects of the app. Well, you remember that I told you that it's a good start, but actually the template that you get by going File, New, Multimedia app, a multi-device app, and then navigation, which was this one. I'll just remind you how it works. Go in here, and then you say header, footer with navigation. I actually removed the navigation part at the bottom. Okay. And what I did was I actually kind of cheated, but not cheated. So what we have here, if I scroll down to where it is, there's my highlighting. Yeah. What I have here is a button that I've created. Now it is, if I hit F11, I can see that is a T button. Now T buttons support images. Okay. But I actually wanted to make sure that it was an SVG image. Okay. And so I dropped a rectangle on top of that button because I want this whole app to be black. I colored that rectangle black. Okay, so the home button contains a rectangle. And then on top of the button as well, I also dropped a skier SVG image. Okay, so if I just go to here, in the skier section is the one that's called a SKSVG. Okay, it works on everything: Windows, Mac, iOS, you name it, it does it. And not only that, when you deploy your apps to Windows or whatever, it will actually include and build in the necessary skill libraries and put them side by side with your deployed app so that it can do other things as well. But I dropped the SVG on. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if I select the SVG image, there is a thing that says source. And if I double click on that, it's come up on this window because that's the way it is. Here is an SVG. What's cool about SVGs? They are very, very scalable. And all I have to do to choose an SVG is I downloaded them. You remember I told you about that website, which was called svgrepo.com. I went in there and I picked the kind of SVGs I wanted, downloaded them, and selected it, and off you go. That is now stored in the Skier SVG image. So the button has got a rectangle. The rectangle is aligned to the entire button. I've made it black because I want to override any kind of theme that's on the app. At the moment, the app has got no theme. In the background, I also dropped on top of it the SVG source. Now, when you do that, the home button contains a rectangle and an image, but you actually want people to be able to click the button. Okay, the ability to click something is controlled in FireMonkey with a property called hit test. Okay, that's not one to get wrong. Okay, and what you need to do is you need to make sure that for the rectangle that you've got, it's preferable to have the hit test turned off. Okay, but definitely for the SVG, the hit test needs to be turned off. Okay, if you don't do that, whenever you click the SVG, and it could be quite large on some platforms, it's going to fire the on-click event, but you haven't got any code in the on-click event. The on-click event at the moment is on the home button. Okay, so what happens is if you click the home button, you run a bit of code that says, is setting a property that says cancel the action is true, because when the camera's showing, you need to have that cancel action set up. And the active tab of that control here, the main tab, the main tab is set to main tab. Okay, main tab control. So if I set the active tab of main tab control to camera tab, it swaps over to that view. Remember when we clicked on the plus here, it showed this button here and this button here. And same with the likes. It's a little bit slow in coming up there, which this is all an exact copy of how Instagram's thing works. Okay, but at the moment we're on the main tab. Now, all of those buttons you see are set up the same way. So they're all buttons, and in the background of the button is a rectangle that's colored black, and then an SVG image. Now, there are other controls you can get. You can get them from TMS, for example, and a few other component vendors that will actually have the ability to put SVGs on them. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually have an SVG images. The reason is, if I select that SVG, oops, oh dear. Hang on. Yeah. The reason is that I wanted to be able to go in here and set things like margins up to make it look cool. And so if I change that background on that rectangle to be red, for example, it takes a couple of seconds. Now you can see the buttons are all red, but the icon's still white. and it's still, because it's transparent, it's an SVG, it supports transparency. If I wanted to, I could actually set a gradient up. So I could say, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll have, I don't know, let's have a radial gradient, because they're pretty crazy. So I'll have one that goes like this. And oops, and kind is on the right monitoring. In a moment. Oh, look, now the button has a gradient behind it. Now you can play with this forever. You could change this user interface to make it do some pretty amazing things. I actually just want it to be solid, because I actually want people to look at it and go, oh, you know, it looks just like Instagram. Again, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you would go off and copy Instagram. I'm trying to show you a genuine app out there that is, I personally admire, can be recreated in Rad Studio very straightforwardly. Okay, so that's how I did the buttons. The image up here is a straightforward image, and all I've done there is there's a multi-res bitmap, which is a Rad Studio 12 thing, and you can't really see it because of the way the transparency shows. But if you recall, I had an image that I created. I'm just going to try and see if I can find where I put it on my machine. Just 1 second. Yeah, I can't easily find it. I've got so many things on my machine. Instagram. Yeah, there we go. So it's this. So that's what the PNG looks like. Okay, it's got a transparent background, and it's using that font from the font place. The font place was called Font Space, and the one that I chose was Beauty Mountains, just because it looked like this, and that's how it worked out. In fact, it suggested it, but I just put the SVG on, and off you go. It's really very, very easy. The only other more tricky thing was that I wanted to make this profile picture kind of cool, okay? And so what I did was I said, I wanted to have a rounded rectangle, which you can't really see because they're all black, but you'll see the bottom of my little profile picture is slightly curved down there. Okay, I'll just make sure you can see it. Yes, slightly curved down there. And in here is an animated image. Okay, now the animated image is a skier thing as well. If I go into here and select that, there's my animated GIF. So I made that, I just recorded it with my camera, and then I used a tool called Screen to GIF, which is probably one of my go-to weapons really for generating anything when it comes up. But Screen to GIF here, and then I went in and I cut this down. Now, the reason it's pixelating here is because I very quickly did this. It took me about 2 minutes. I recorded this so that I could have that pretty cool animated profile down there. Okay. Yes, the video quality of this, the reason it's bad, it's actually super tiny down here, and it's actually not a video. Okay, it's an animated GIF, completely different. If you're not sure what an animated GIF is, let me just open Screen to GIF up again, and I'll go into the editor and I'll pull up that. Let me just yeah. So for those that don't know, the reason that video is looking weird is because an animated GIF is literally a whole selection of images that are played one after another. That's a GIF. It's not a video, and it doesn't matter either. I'm going to say yes. it will show okay on the phone, but the video quality, yes, it is not super high. So that's it really. Now, behind the scenes, what code is going on? Well, let's just unpin this for a second so you can see what's going on. Everybody disappear. Right. So a lot of this code is irrelevant. Okay. If any of you have gone for the mobile development course on Embarcadero Academy, some of this code will look familiar, and the reason is that it's basically a similar idea. Most of it is to do with making the tab do things. Okay. The other thing is that because I make it so that you can run it as different targets, I actually, if it's Windows, I store where it's from. So if I say run it as a Windows 32-bit app and hit F9, all being well, I did make some changes. I haven't tested this, but come on, there you go. Here's the app running in Windows. So you can have this, multiple ways: iOS, Android, Windows, Mac. Now, obviously, if it's a Windows app, you change the size of the app and make it work better for a desktop, because this is a bit stupid for a desktop. But all of the buttons do exactly the things you would expect them to do in the app. And I made it so that if you click on this little profile picture here, as you can see, the video quality of the profile picture at that resolution is great. The reason it looks weird in the IDE is because it's zoomed up like 20 times its size. And I'm not sure. I don't think this will work. No. It would normally open the camera and allow me to take a photograph. It won't do it because I'm actually talking on the camera, and the camera's got its little light on at the moment. Same with here. I can select from the gallery and stuff like that. But you get the general gist of it. And when I want to close it out, just click on that and off it goes. So the reason that you need that extra bit of code in there for the position of the app is if I do this on Windows, this is not my main monitor. Okay, your apps by default, if you set a default position, will show on what's known as your main monitor, and that's the one with the taskbar on. And as you can see on my monitor here, no taskbar. Okay, now if I close this app and then run it again, you'll see it'll come back up here. Likewise, if I move it down here and close it, it's going to remember. And then when I run it again, it'll come down here. Bing, see? And that's all done with a little piece of code in the IDE. And I use what's known as conditional compilation. So if it's Windows, then when it runs, it will load the previous location of the form where the app was. If it's Windows, when it closes, it'll save the form location. Now, why do we not do this for Android or iOS? Because by default, the app will just run on the device. That's how mobile devices work. But if I just go into that, and that's the other thing as well. I'll talk about that in a moment. There's another module called Dragger, which I'll talk about in a moment. But what this does, I showed this in another webinar before, but this is the FireMonkey version of a unit called location memory. It creates a class helper for the form and just saves where that form was if it's Windows. It does not do anything if it's not Windows. It's pointless. A mobile device is going to remember. The unit called Dragger also only works if you're using Windows. You saw the code just briefly turn back to Windows there. The reason is that I've set this form up so there's no caption bar. Okay, so if I just pull up the structure for a moment and pick on something here. There's my view structure. Debug Windows. Windows structure. Well, is it because I'm running it or something? I can't see the structure. Hello. Well, broken structure window. Well, never mind. Come back to that in a minute. because there's no caption to drag on the main form, because I've turned it off. I can't get to it now. My controls are not working properly. Yeah, come on. There you go. Okay, notification. Oh, I see. That's called different on the Windows. Of course, yeah, I know why. Right. So what I did was I turned off all the border icons and turned the border style to none. What that does then is you're stuck a little bit there, because at that point you can't minimize and maximize your app, which we don't want anyway. But what I did was I made it so that if the mouse was down on the instant gran image, it would run this piece of code. If it's Windows, then it'll allow you to drag the app around just using that instant gran logo. It's very handy if you want an app that doesn't have the borders on the captions or anything like that. Someone asking about, can I share the source code on GitHub? Yes, I will. I'll have a look at doing that, but it's not going to be right now. So let's just go back to here and talk about a couple of other things to do with mobile apps and cross-platform apps. As you can see, at the moment it says master, okay, and we're on the Windows. If I go over and I choose Android 64 and the target, which is my Android phone, when I run the app, what it's going to do is actually run that on my Android app. But my Android is a different size to, for example, my iPhone SE. The Android is like 6.7 centimeters or something like that, or big. And the iPhone SE is considerably smaller. So what do you do? Because these would not fit, okay, on those devices. So what I do is I click on the view and I select the device that I know I need to tweak to fit. And in this case, if I go on the iPhone SE, why you're not showing what I want? Oh, I see. You'll see here, for example, the that control has been scaled to 1.5 the time the value of the Y coordinate, the length. So I'm actually making it longer on this particular device. In fact, if I get rid of this for a moment, you can see the whole phone there. So I'm making that part longer by 1.5 times. Now, if I go to the Android phone, let's see if I go to the same place. Yes, I do. And select there, it's 1.2. And how did I work that out? Well, I literally just played around with it until I could fit things in. But if this was a tablet, for example, and it was wide, I could make a special version of Instant Gran that would fit on tablets. And in fact, it's quite common that you would do that. You can also do some other things in this view if you've not looked at this before. For example, you can say, well, what happens when we rotate it? Not so good. So I probably need to make that work properly for rotation. But again, I literally wrote this in 2 hours yesterday. So I haven't really put a lot of effort into it at the moment. But you get the general gist. Now, if I wanted to, I could do a special version for the Mac or some other device. These are kind of hangovers. Google Glass, we don't really support that anymore. I don't think you can even buy Google Glass. But iPad, Android tablets, like a 7-inch tablet or 10-inch tablet, you can create more views like this in here as well and have a custom view. Sony smartwatch, yeah, I mean, most of these are just irrelevant, but Windows desktop, yeah, if you wanted to have a different view for the Windows desktop, then you could do. So for the Windows desktop, you might want to make this huge and wide and the rest of it. So that's really the long and short of it. It's not hugely difficult to make that interface. Like I said, most of it is straightforward. Now, next time we talk about this app, we're actually going to fill in two things. Okay, so at the moment, if I just run this as a Windows app again, click on the right part of the screen, go back and say run this as a Windows app. Next time when we look at this app, we are going to fill this bit in, which was your feed. Okay, and I can't do that until we've actually put in the back-end infrastructure, which we're going to create using web broker, possibly RAD server, and web stencils. But I haven't worked that one out yet. I've got to talk to Richard, my friend, about that. The other thing that we are going to do is when you go into here, you'll have a feed of all the notifications. And we're going to use that using some kind of cool controls to make that happen. And the same with here, your messages, we're going to have live messages coming down as well from the back-end infrastructure. It's going to be a real working app, not a toy. It's actually going to work. Same with this. When you click on plus, you can see all your images in here that you've already taken, and then you'll be able to select these two here as well. Okay. Hope that makes sense. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now and put myself back on the screen and embigger myself. Right, so let's have a look at the chat messages. Oh, loads of you have stuck it out as well. It looks fine with the rotating Ian. Yeah, doing this. Yeah. I thought it was a good thing to show. It's quite important to demonstrate these kind of things. Oh, Bill, thanks for that. He's a very good presenter. He really knows how to capture the audience with interesting content. You know what? I think, I hope that's true, but I also think that it's to show something like this. What I wanted was to allow you to see that it doesn't matter how complicated the user interface is from Meta or whoever, and they'll be using, I think Meta use React Native, which is fine. It's a web-based technology, but I wanted you to see that we can do anything anybody else does. If you said to me, make a copy of Microsoft Windows Desktop, I can do it. I've done demos before, a UI demo where I've shown you, a complete, unmistakable copy of the Windows desktop settings. You know, the one where you can select what size your screen is and all the rest of it, and your screen resolution, your setup of your monitor. So yeah, you can do all of that. I just wanted to make sure that people could see that the user interface is actually fairly easy. I'm going to put this up on the web, and I'm also going to talk about the back-end infrastructure another time. It won't be probably this Friday because we can try and do some stuff with Figma. We've got some Figma designs and show you how to break out some of that and get the graphics out of it and then create your own app. I'm probably going to do that live, but we'll see how we go. And what else have we got? Just to say hello to a few people we missed last time from Lisbon, Carlos. Yeah, I was seeing Portugal only a couple of weeks ago. And Pete is saying hello from Imperial, California. Yes, very political part of the world at the moment. Thank you for our election. Hello, Denmark from Canada. Yeah, it's great stuff. Okay, all right. Well, it was very brief. I just wanted to show you some tricks of the user interface. The main thing with FireMonkey is being able to embed controls. I didn't actually even show you things like animated transitions, which we will do when we do the Canva app on Friday. You can do some very interesting things where things spin around and partially change color and become transparent or not transparent, all the other things as well. But we'll do those with Figma and some Canva designs as well. The links that I had were these ones. The SVGs are in the SVG repo. That's the name of it, svgrepo.com. And the other one is Font Space, which is where I found the Instagram type font. And again, to emphasize, we're not trying to rip them off. We're just trying to show you that you can do similar interfaces you should use your own SVGs and not copy people directly, unless you want to find that your apps will get thrown out of the app stores, or even worse, you might get sued. And if you want to go there, download a trial copy of Rad Studio, or download the SE version, and you'll go from there. Okay, that's it for now. I will see you again on Friday, where we do some more cool and exciting things. And then I think on the Monday, I'm not entirely sure what we've got coming up. Let me just pull my schedule up so that I can tell you, because I normally have it open, and today I closed it. Yeah, so this Friday we're going to look at a Figma, Canva, and Sketch, and recreate some designs from that live. And then on Tuesday next week, we're going to have a games developer, and also Bruno Firenz from TMS is going to be here as well, talking about his products. And the app is a game, and it's a mobile game called Viking Stories. Very, very good game. Really cool. We've got a thing called Crystal Clock as well, but you've got to come along to that next Tuesday, same time as today. The following that, we've got Not a Hot Dog from the Silicon Valley TV program. It was created as a joke, but we know we can create Not a Hot Dog by doing AI object recognition. I'm not kidding you. We know we can do it. Richard and I have talked about it, and we've already got it recognized in some things. And then on the Tuesday after that, we're going to recreate Bro, which is another social media app. So you're not going to have one but two social media apps, and we're going to use the same infrastructure for the Bro app to power this lovely front end that we showed here today, that we're designing. How can you create an IA app from Delphi to use as needed? I think you mean AI. The answer is go into the Get It package manager, and you'll be able to download all sorts of plugins there. So it's Tools, Get It package manager, and you can install it. But come back when we do the Not a Hot Dog video, or come and watch it if you're watching a replay now, and we'll show you how to use AI, because we're going to be doing it for real. We're going to be recognizing food, and it's either going to be no, it's not a hot dog, or yes, it is a hot dog. And that uses AI object recognition. We're also going to probably use Textract, which will allow you to look at some text and extract text from it, and also categorize people as well, and things like that. Gaza says, thanks, Ian. Interesting to see Delphi multi-platforms as easy as that. I swear, I absolutely assure you, and I'm going to call up that screen again just so that I can show something again here. This box above my head, the way that when you say a new multi-device platform app, it will come up like this. Okay. And you probably might start with Android or something like that. Android 32-bit nobody really uses that anymore. Okay, there are some 32-bit devices, but most aren't. But 64-bit and iOS device 64-bit are the most common mobile platforms. But I could have literally selected Mac OS and created that. The reason is that in the background of this, I've already set up the configuration. So I have, I'm actually telling it to do ad hoc for the iOS device. But if I say here and say edit connection, you can't see it because it's off the screen, but there it is. There's my local connection, and then it's connecting. It says OK, and it's actually connecting to my my Mac in the background. And my Mac is sitting over there. If you look at my camera, you can see where I'm pointing, but it's to that side. And what it runs is a thing called PA server, and excuse me. And the PA server has got connection. And then when I say I want to target my device, plugged into my Mac down there, you can just about see it as my iPhone. I have an iPhone and an Android as well. With the Android, it's plugged directly into this Windows PC that I'm talking on now. And so I can run the app on the Android device straight away. So if I select that, there's my Samsung device. If I select run, like so, don't remember running it, changing it, but let's give it a go. Maybe I've just broken something, but I guess we'll find out in a moment. But it links a little bit. It's doing some Java-ish stuff in the background. And momentarily, all being well, this is my actually my screen share of my Ultra device, and that is it running in Android. Simple as that. Nothing difficult to that, and it does all the things you would expect it to do that I showed you on the Windows version. This is just my iPhone share, my Android sharing app here. Okay, it's not. Normally you wouldn't see this bit here, but it just so that I can stream this on my Windows machine. But it is connecting to my Android phone, and it is actually a genuine Android phone. Same with this, you can do all this kind of stuff and add things and all the rest of it. And if I click on here and close it, you can see that this is a real Android phone. And here's a test app, just to show that you can do all sorts of weird things in Android. Pretty cool, really. I'm a big fan of what you can do with Rad Studio. This is probably, as far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are lots of, not lots, but there's several other ways that people write code, that work cross-platform. So there, Microsoft and a few other people have got some of these options. And in fact, I hear that Flutter, which was one big competitor, has now been deprecated. I don't know why, but they're going to stop doing it. But you cannot really get much easier than this to swap between creating an Android app and creating an iOS app. And in the background, the source code for creating that iOS app is completely the same as the Android app. This is the big key feature of Rad Studio and FireMonkey, is that you do not need to write lots of different code to target the cross-platform. This will look the same on the iOS device. I can't demo it right now, but I assure you it does. And it will look the same on the Android device. And you've already seen that when you run it on Windows and run it, it will come up in a moment and look exactly the same on Windows. And this is a genuine Windows app. This is it running on Windows. I've just turned the caption bars off at the top and all the rest of it. So yeah, it is very cool. To do multi-platform like that. I don't know anybody else that does it better. I have to say that. I know I work for Embarcadero, but I mean it. I think we do it better than anybody else, and that's very cool. So there you go. Right. Okay. Well, I'll see you again on Friday, same time. And thanks from Francis. I appreciate that. I do my best. I try and present it the way I can. I wanted to show you that we can do anything that anybody else can do. And we are going to keep working on this project another time. Like I say, we'll fill in the gaps. We'll make that infrastructure part of it. Talk to a cloud-based server and get the images stored up and then back down again. Automatically, so that when you open up the app, there'll be some live content in there and off it goes. But right now, the user interface is kind of 75% done. It's just the rest of it's actually can't be done because we need the infrastructure behind the scenes. So there you go. Okay, no more questions. I will see you next time. Thanks.